Hello everyone, welcome to round 1 of the Go-Kart Championship in 2018. We bring to you a brand new season starting off here in Filching Manor. This is some drone footage I captured in the practice session before the event, and qualifying did go smoothly as well. We got a 5-minute qualifying session in for everyone to set their fastest lap times here. So this is a mixture of qualifying and practice footage here. But yeah, I think it looks pretty nice. Nice to get some drone footage of the karts going around. And yeah, looking forward to seeing how I can edit together this video into a proper one. But nonetheless, this is the first round of the Go-Kart Championship. I've been the champion of the last couple of years. The last 2 years in particular have been much tougher. Tom has been a very, very good competitor, and I'm looking forward to battling him once again this season. John and my dad always competitive as well, and George is in this first event as well, so there's 5 drivers in this first event, all in their own right probably could go for a podium here today, which will be exciting. Let's quickly round up the results of qualifying, however. It was a close affair, especially for pole position. Unfortunately for myself, my car only recorded my first couple of lap times, meaning I didn't really get my fastest lap time on the scoring loops, which is a bit annoying. I think there's a bit of a loose wire in my car, which is a bit gutting, but it's the way it goes, and I've got to move on. It's a long season. 5 points for qualifying won't mean hopefully too much by the end of the year. Anyway, let's start off with the qualifying results. So Tom started the season on a high note with a 29.805 with his qualifying time on pole position and the 5 points to go with it. I qualified in second position with a 29.899. In third position, it was very, very close between John and my dad, but John managed to pit my dad to third place on the grid with a 30.471. My dad was a 30.521 there, so half a tenth of a second between them there for third place on the grid. That looks like it's going to be a fantastic battle this season, and both of them within a second of pole position as well, so it should be really interesting to see whether we can all battle together for a championship this season. George, in his second event only here at Filching Manor, understandably will be a little bit slower here today, but he's not too far off, only 2 seconds off John and my dad. So there's a high likelihood if in the reverse grid race, he could probably go for a decent result. So it's going to be interesting to see where George comes out after that qualifying, after the race one, and maybe he can have to pace through the race one, and possibly he could get himself into a good position. So there we go. There is the qualifying results for the first round of the season here in Filching Manor. Tom from myself, then John, then my dad, and George is all within 2.5 seconds, just over 2.5 seconds, just within 3 seconds. So it looks like it's going to be a really, really interesting race here. And yeah, I had to switch go-karts after qualifying as well, which is a little bit annoying because they were saying about this issue with my timing, meaning that, yeah, I wasn't going to get any lap times in, I wasn't going to get the scoring in if I stayed in with that kart. So unfortunately, I had to change karts again. That meant I was in a cold go-kart. That's going to be my excuse, but it was obviously a different feeling. Each kart is different, so it's going to take a bit of time to get used to. But Tom from pole positions going to look to be getting a good start here. So we're going to look to the lights. There's the marshal pointing to the lights. On board with Tom on pole position here, and the lights are out, and away we go. He gets a pretty decent start here, Tom, and down to the first corner. It looks like he's going to lead. Tom's going to take the lead into the first corner, or keep himself into the lead in the first corner, down to turn 1, and he takes the lead, or keeps the lead, as I just said, into turn 1. Great stuff from Tom there. Fantastic start from him from pole position, which is always good for him. So he's going to try and build up a lead here over the next couple of laps. Now we go on board with John, who has secured his P3 on the grid here. He's had a pretty decent start and he's managed to keep that P3, which is really important. You can see I've already dropped about 1.5 seconds back from Tom here. I'm struggling with a car which I'm not too familiar with. Now on board with my dad, down to cross the line for the first time and up to the first corner again. You can see I'm sort of weaving a little bit to try and get some temperature in the tyres. My dad goes down the inside. He gets a little bit squirming on the brakes, but he manages to get through. Good overtake there from my dad. Yes, there was a bit of contact, but I was being a bit silly. I was warming up my brakes and I completely missed my braking point. So there we go. So now I'm down to 4th. John squeezed through into P3 as well. So yes, a mishap there. I've completely blown any chance of probably winning this race already. You can see Tom flying up the road and he's got some good pace. So there's only a couple of hundredths really in it in qualifying. So down the back straight, it's going to be really big struggle for me to make up like the 3 or 4 seconds I've lost already. Up to the top hairpin. John's quite early on the brakes, but he gets a good line through the corner. My dad goes a bit wide through there, and he lost a lot of time. So smart thinking there from John. Getting on the brakes at the right time has really helped him out through there. So the fast left-hander, which is normally flat out, my dad runs a little bit wide, cuts across John. Maybe won't be too happy with that, but John knows it's racing and there wasn't really anywhere for him to go. Now back on board myself here. crossing the line once again. I know this has been a very tough first couple of laps of this race, so I really need to regroup and just get anything I can get out of this race. Hopefully P2 is probably my maximum goal. And down the inside here, John and then my dad, both of them just leaving a gap. There's a bit of a contact there. I'm making a joke there to John. We both knew it was a joke. I was, all the time you have to leave the space. You know the Fernando Alonso meme. There we go. But yes, basically, I managed to get down the inside. And there's a bit of contact here as I slightly cut off John. And John goes back down the inside there. Intelligent thinking there from John. Got the switch back. And I am struggling with this go-kart. I'm not just playing around here. I genuinely am struggling with this go-kart here, and yeah, getting up to speed with it. Down the top straight here, up to the top hairpin. Am I going to be able to get on the brakes a bit later than John? Yes, I am. A couple of meters later means I've just been able to turn around the outside and get the overtake done around the outside, which is pretty good. I know John was quite early on the brakes there at the top corner for the majority of this session, but nonetheless, we managed to get through, which is good stuff from us. So now, that's leading Tom by quite a bit right now. I'm in second place. John's currently in third place. My dad's currently in fourth place. Second, third and fourth is very close right now. It's very, very close. Only like a second between us all. Up to the top hairpin. John's going to be looking. He's got a good slipstream up to the top hairpin and to the top hairpins. But they're going to go down the inside. No, he isn't. So there we go. Managed to maintain position there. But of course, we've got George in P5 as well. It's a learning experience for George. He's only been racing go-karts a couple of times now. So he's really getting up to speed. But he is improving each and every time, which he's definitely doing good at. So now I'm board with my dad once again. Very close to the tyre wall on the outside there. That nearly was contact. That would not have been a great start to this racer, especially he knows it's going to be a long championship, so he wants to make sure he picks up every point possible. Up to the top hairpin, I'm having to defend here. I'm struggling to break these two, which I'm not used to battling with. My dad and John, they normally have a good battle on track between them, but I'm personally not used to battling too much with them, so it should be quite an interesting battle here to see whether I can break free. Or my dad, he's putting a lot of pressure on here. He's very quick, evidently, and down to the fast right-hander towards the end of the lap, and my dad's got a good slipstream here. It looks like there's a good chance he might be able to get me up to the top hairpin here. So am I going to defend? I mean, you can sort of tell when there's a go-kart behind you. So I sort of like, where is he? Where is he? And that was quite bad for me there. Like, looking back at it, I know I didn't really know where my dad was there, but I kind of just cut across him there. And that's basically because I didn't know he was there, but still, I should have held my line down the straight there. The straight isn't really a straight in that way, though, so it is a little bit odd, but still, it's not good driving from me there. Now back on board with John, and he's catching up to my dad. He's going to look down the inside here. It's been a great battle between us three at the start of this race. Tom is long gone here. He's probably got a 6 or 7 second lead right now, and he's going to be very happy with that, and I'm going to have to try and regroup for the second race and see whether I can maybe challenge him for the victory. My dad standing around the outside of John. It's side by side. No, John just gets it done, so John's back up into a podium position, which he's going to be happy with. So that's another good move there from John. My dad lost a bit of time out of all of that, actually. You can see he's dropped back about a second, but nonetheless, it's still quite close here. I have managed to break the gap. I guess those two having a bit of a battle has helped me there, and now John's going to try and attack me and try and close that gap down. I feel like, we're about the halfway point of this race now. I'm starting to get into the rhythm of this go-kart, but still, I've got to keep focused, because I know points for P2 are much better than points for P4 or P5 if I'm making mistakes. So now on board with Tom here is at the lead of this race now, and you can see he's starting to catch lap traffic here. This is George. I mean, not doing too badly whatsoever, considering this is his, I think, second time around this track. So yeah, you can see he's a little bit sideways on the brake. He's getting a bit too late on the brakes, but he's not letting him go easily there. Tom managed to get through, but George putting up a battle. Nice to see that fighting spirit. And up to the top hairpin, my dad trying to look on the outside of John. Not really the place you'd go for an overtake, but fair play. He nearly got it done there. It was quite close on the brakes there. John is a little bit timid on the brakes at the top hairpin. I definitely think that's somewhere where he probably could gain maybe half a second if he just braked a little bit later. Then my dad runs a little bit wide. Now last proper corner here, on board with John once again. Unfortunately, this camera fogs up on John's helmet. I don't know why. It's really annoying, but it's the best quality one out of all of them actually on this one. So yeah, it's a bit annoying that it does fog up. John is defending the inside line, but he's left enough of a gap down the inside, and my dad tries it, but no, he hasn't. My dad is trying the outside line right now. That's working from the last couple of laps, but he couldn't quite get it done there. So let's see whether he can, over the next couple of laps, try and get that position here. So on board with George here. He's doing a good job, just trying to keep it going around the track, really. George doesn't need to do anything silly. He just needs to keep it on the track and try and pick up the points, because it'll be inevitable that he'll score some good points this year, but he just needs to keep it on track whilst he's still learning. So now this battle between John and my dad is heating up. My dad's trying to go on the outside. It's quite close. John keeps the inside line. There's a gap down the inside, but my dad doesn't go for it. So this battle for P3 is really heating up. Now you think my dad and John are going to have a really good championship battle this season. So every point is going to count in this scenario. A little bit like myself and Tom, we kind of expect we're going to be battling each other for the championship. So I know, you can see I've sort of broke free of this battle here, and that's lucky for me because I didn't want to get involved in this battle too much because I know they're having a good battle between them. And up to the top hairpin, round the outside, my dad on the brakes, really good overtake round the outside. Is he going to maintain it? Yes, he is. He's managed to close the door. Fantastic overtake around the outside there. John definitely needs to get a bit later on the brakes there, and looks like I'm just going past George. We've got a bit of a sideways moment to George. We've just gone past him as well, but that was a great little overtake there from my dad to get past John for P3 in this race, which will be very vital for this championship. So it's going to be exciting to see whether he's going to be able to get P3 or John. It's going to be a great battle to watch. Up to the top hairpin once again. We can see my dad and John now both catching George. It's going to be an interesting one. Are they going to be able to lap him before the end of this race? It's about 2 minutes remaining of this one. So if they can maybe get involved in the battle here, maybe, battle with George, possibly John could get through again. But you can see he's had a really good run here through the last proper corner. It's side by side. He's going to get down the inside, is he? It's very close, but he's managed to do it. He's got a bit sideways. That's going to kill his momentum somewhat. Up to the top pep, and my dad comes back. He's going to be later on the brakes. Yes, he is, but John's got the inside line. Who's going to be able to get to the apex or round the corner first? It's still side by side, but John clears him. John's back into P3. This is an exhilarating battle here for P3 in this race. It's really interesting to watch. Back on board with my dad here. You can see he's hustling the wheel, and they're both catching up to George here at quite a considerable rate. So right now, it's going to be a bit of a worry for whoever's in the lead about who is going to be able to get through and pass George the quickest, because George is probably right now about 2 seconds a lap slower, so they will inevitably catch him on this lap right now. John a bit early on the brakes once again, and George is slightly half spun it in front, which means it's going to be a queue here. I think there's not much of this race remaining, so now John is going to be quite bold with this overtake. One way, then the next. George goes down the inside, but John is bold through there. Not a part of the track where you normally overtake, but great stuff there from John. Now through the final couple of corners, there surely can't be much of this race remaining. On board with George, you can see both of them have gone through now, so George is just trying to keep it on track here, just still learning, which is the most important thing. He's got a bit of racecraft, he's had a couple of battles on track with people, which is going to be vitally important, and I think he's done a good job here. A little bit wide there on the brakes, but as I said, it's only his second time, and he's pushing, which is the most important thing. He's enjoying it, which he said he is. I'm not just putting words in his mouth, he's enjoying it, which is the most important thing. So, you can see the battle for P3 is still raging on here. It's going to be really interesting to see out of those two who's going to come out in front. On board with Tom here. I think this could be the last lap of the race. That's why I've edited to Tom here. Last couple of corners, Tom has drove an absolutely fantastic race here. And up to the start finish line. Is that the checkered flag? Yes, it is. Tom wins the first race of the season. Pole to win. Lights the flag. Fantastic race from Tom there to secure the win of the first race of the season. Now on board with my dad. 1 or 2 corners to go here. This is the last proper overtaking opportunity. Can he get the momentum through the corner? No, John's been pretty smart about that one. John's actually got a better run out of that last couple of corners. And John comes across the line P3. My dad is P4. And George will be coming around the last couple of corners to finish in P5 there. So good job by all. I managed to pick up P2, which is important for my personal battle in the championship here. So you can see the results after that one. It's a pretty close race here. I mean, overall, well, not really close for the lead, but close for P3 especially. So Tom was nearly 10 seconds clear of myself in second place. I managed to pull about a 10-second gap on P3. And John and my dad was only separated by 0.4 of a second here. And my dad actually managed to get into the 29 lap times there, which is pretty impressive for him. He was actually quicker than me during that race, and George ended up I think a couple of laps back, 1 or 2 laps back there in that one. So not bad from George, but he'll be looking for better in this race here. You can see we're on board with George here for this race. He's going to be starting on pole position for this one, as it's a complete reverse grid. Now we like to mix it up a little bit in this series. We don't want to just do standard races where the winner always gets to start on pole, because it's not always fun like that. So we reverse the grid here for the second race of the day. Look into the lights here, the marshal's pointing it out, and the lights are on, and away we go. A good start from George. He's pretty light, so he should be able to get into turn 1 first, so that's going to be a pretty interesting one for this race here. So up to the top hairpin, looks like George is going to lead. Now up to turn 1, it's going to basically everyone else is in second place here. I'm trying to look one way, and then the next to try and go on the outside of everyone here. George goes slightly wide, and then it's all sort of bunched up there through turn number 2, but it looks like we've all sorted ourselves out. So it's George, from John, then my dad, then Tom, then myself. So I didn't get a great start there from P4, and John has already gone for the overtake. He's trying to go on the outside. He's been slightly hit there from George as they've gone side by side, and my dad takes the lead of this one. So good intelligent racing there from my dad to manage to get past there. John and George going wheel to wheel, and well, it looks like my dad's managed to capitalise from that one. Now side by side with John and Tom up to the top hairpin. Is Tom going to be able to go down the inside of George? George washes out wide, and Tom manages to get P2 in this one. So there we go. Tom through into second place here. Can Tom do the, well, just the complete weekend, I guess you'd call it? Pole, race 1, race 2. He's in a really good position right now, especially new. He had a couple of tenths of a second on my dad in race 1. He was 4 tenths of a second quicker, I think, in that first race than my dad. My dad's best lap time was a 29.9 and Tom's was a 29.5. So it's quite close, but still I think Tom will know he's got the pace advantage here. But can he turn that into another race victory? Let's see. I've managed to get myself into P3 now, and John is unfortunately struggling to get past George. He went for that really bold move. It didn't quite play off, and then unfortunately for him, he dropped all the way back down to P4 after a really good start to get it into P2. So there we go. After the first couple of laps, my dad's leading, Tom's in second, I'm in third. John unfortunately lost a little bit of time in that sort of melee with George, meaning he's P4 and P5 for George right now, who had a good start but unfortunately couldn't hold it throughout the first couple of laps. But it's a learning experience, as we've said. So really close on-board action here. Tom is really putting the pressure on my dad to try and get this overtake done. This is for another race victory, remember, so 15 points for a race victory. If it's a longer race, you can get 30 points for a race victory, but generally our races are 10 to 15 minutes long, which means you'll get the 15 points. If you want full details and all this sort of stuff and information on the series, it's all in the description, in the link to the description of the go-kart website, because you're on board with George. That was a bit of a slide there, but he'll keep it in the right direction. He's doing a good job, and so far I think he's definitely putting in better lap times than in the first race. John, sorry, that was a mixture of George and John. John managing to now claw back some seconds, because we're all battling for the first place in this one. You see I've done on the inside of Tom. There's a little bit of contact there as I tried to dive down the inside of Tom when there wasn't really a gap to do so. I mean, there was a gap to do so, but I guess Tom was always going to shut it. It was a gap that was always going to be closed off. So up to the top hairpin, my dad still leads. He's doing a really good job at defensive work here. He knows how to defend, that's for sure. Just braking, make sure a little bit earlier at the top hairpin if you're defending, to make sure people don't obviously get a good run through the corner. So dad's gone a little bit wide there, and you can see he's lost a bit of momentum. Tom's right up behind him. Is he going to be able to defend off here? It's close. Tom goes slightly over the curb, and Tom has to back out of that one. My dad, that's quite robust for him, I'm not going to lie. Now, is he going to be able to hold up to the top hairpin? Tom couldn't quite get the overlap. Now he's unsure about where to go. It's 3 wide into the top hairpin, and we all keep in the same position. But all of this is going to be exactly what John wants to see, because he wants to claw back and get a podium out of this one. And seeing all of us battling it out for the race victory, so that goes wide. That's going to hold everyone up. Tom goes around the outside. It's going to be close here. This is going to, push everyone together. I give my dad a bit of a bump here to try and get him going down this straight, because I know that he was going to be a bit slower, because obviously he got a bit sideways there. And my dad gets back into the lead, I guess, thanks for a little bump. And Tom's pushing onto the grass. It's getting heated here. As we know, we're battling for the championship together. I mean, I don't know whether that was a bit forceful from me, but I kind of felt my kart was there. But it's just one of those racing things. We race each other hard each and every time, which is the most important thing. And I think me and Tom both respect each other so much out on track. It's just the way it is. And I make a massive mistake after doing a pretty ballsy move to keep it, gas down over the grass. So then I throw it away at the other part of the track. So it's a bit stupid on my part there. So there we go. I've dropped myself back down to P3 once again, and Tom's doing a really good job. He's quite quick in a straight line. I'm trying to get around the outside once again on the brakes, trying to be a bit clever, but there's a bit more contact, and this time I hit the tyre, and that's going to have cost me a couple of seconds there. So that was a silly move from me around the outside. Tom being obviously very understandably aggressive here to try and keep his P2 and his championship lead right now, which he holds, because he'll have 20 points as we go into this race, and I will only have 12. Obviously Tom gets pole and the fastest pole and the race victory, sorry, from the first race, and I only get second place, which means the big gulf. But if I can win this race and maybe Tom finish third, it will close that gap right back up. And up to the top hairpin, there's a bit of a bit of a miscommunication there. I wasn't sure exactly what was happening. Tom was saying sorry there. Basically, I just sort of locked up the brakes there. I wasn't exactly sure what was happening. Tom tried to do a switchback move, meaning he was taking a very tight line through the corner. And yeah, I wasn't expecting it. I locked up the brakes, absolutely jammed on the brakes, and unfortunately just tagged the back of Tom's car, which I'm sorry about. I mean, I completely did not mean to do that whatsoever. But yeah, a bit of miscommunication there. I wasn't exactly sure what was happening. But it's good fair racing here. I mean, that's just one of those things. Tom didn't mean to sort of cut across my nose there whilst I was on the brakes. And obviously I did not mean to touch him. So on board my dad, he's doing a fantastic job in this one. He should pat himself on the back because honestly, this is a great race here. He's doing a very good, fantastic defensive job because he knows that Tom's quicker. Tom has been quicker than everyone this weekend, and you know, by at least half a second. Tom's really been on it this weekend, and that's the reason why everyone's defending hard against him, because they know they probably don't have the pace against him. And I think myself, my dad, and John all within about half a second of Tom, but we just can't close in that next half a second really. So we'll see what the fastest laps are like after this second race. I didn't even mention it, but I actually did switch karts again for this one, so I had a different kart in both qualifying, race 1 and race 2. So it's the way it was. I think there was a problem with my kart in the first race. The second go-kart I was in, there was a problem with that one as well, which is a bit annoying. So it's the way it was. I had to start all over again here. But up to the top hairpin, my dad's being defensive, but then he's left a gap. It's very strange here. I asked him about this, like, out of all the laps where you didn't defend, that was the strange one, because it allowed Tom to go through, and then obviously he's got George to get past as well. So that was a strange one for my dad. He didn't fully defend there, which is kind of odd. I'm not sure exactly what he was doing there, but obviously he was trying his best. Now on board myself, I'm going to try and get the overtake down the inside. George has got a bit sideways. We're all jumping over the curb here, and now I'm going to go down the inside of my dad, and there we go. Good stuff, and I'm up to P2 here. Tom can see he's had a quick look around there. He's had a quick check. He's wondering where everyone is. Up to the top hairpin on the brakes. I feel like I'm pretty good on the brakes at the top hairpin. I mean, late, and then also managing to turn it in. My dad losing maybe a couple of temps through there. But overall, it's been a great battle so far in this race. I'm looking forward to seeing how the finale of this one's going to play out, because it's really close here for this top 3. And you can't forget, I mean, you can't really see it from the camera angles right now, but John is within like a second and a half at this point of my dad. He's closing in at a decent rate. I mean, we had all that battling and obviously catching George at quite a tough part of the track. It was really bunching everyone up. It really was bunching everyone up. On board with Tom, leading this one. He's doing a good job out front now. He's got to stay focused. I mean, there wasn't much of a battle between us in the first race. That's just because I was much slower in that first race. But I definitely felt the second go-kart, or third go-kart even, definitely was better than that one in the first race. And I've got the move down the inside there. A bit of a switchback move, getting a wider entry into the corner and getting a shallower exit. I'm managing to get down the inside of Tom, who washed wide. Up to the top hairpin, however, it's very close once again. Not quite pushing me onto the grass this time, but good hard racing, and I managed to complete the move back into the first position here of this race. Exactly what I needed to do. I mean, after that first race I was quite disappointed. I was a little bit miffed as well that my best lap times in qualifying didn't get counted, because I was like, man, I thought I was going to get pole position. I thought I was going to get those extra 5 points. I felt like I was on good form in qualifying. That kart felt quick, and yeah, the second go-kart I was in just didn't really live up to it. But now Tom's going to go on the offensive here. I've left a bit of a gap down the inside, not a kart gap, but enough that he probably could have put his nose down the inside if possible. So it looks like we are catching up to George once again. This will be to put a second lap, I think, on him here. So, or would it be? No, I think this would be to put a first lap on it. I don't even know at this point. I think George is either one lap down here, or this is the first time I'm lapping. I'm not too sure, but we get a lucky break here that we catch him through this part of the track. Yes, we did have to sort of lose a lot of time there, and on board with George here, you can see we're all starting to go past here. Tom tries to get the wide line, but there's a bit of contact here. George being a bit robust, and my dad managed to squeak through as well. But yeah, George being a little bit robust there. Tom got past him. There was a bit of contact. George, I think, trying to get a bit of a switchback, but it kind of didn't go, I think, exactly to plan, meaning there was a bit of contact with Tom, which sent Tom a bit sideways, which I can understandably, I can understand maybe Tom was a little bit annoyed about, because like I was going to get a good run there on Alex, obviously me, but yeah, unfortunately, a bit of contact there with George didn't really help him out there. But I'm defending this inside line, which means I can't break away. I definitely felt my pace in this last race was better, but at the same time, as soon as I manage to get past, of course I have to go on the defensive because I don't want to lose this race as soon as I've got the opportunity to win it. So if the points were to finish right now, Tom would still have the extra points for the fastest lap. But there's the checker flag. It's all come up so quickly. I didn't even realise. The checker flag's over. I got the overtakes done when I needed to, and I managed to win this race. Kind of out of nowhere, really. I was kind of very lucky. It all came together in the last couple of laps. I guess I played my cards right throughout this race. Managed to stay out of the big accidents, even though I dropped down a bit at the start, and we managed to win that race. Only by 1.3 seconds, but we had a much better lap time in that time at 29.6. Still a tenth of a second slower than Tom, who finished P2, but still I'm happy with my pace in that second race. So there we go. I win by 1.3 seconds and 3.1 seconds over my dad. John was 5.6 seconds back. So the top four in the order only kept separated by 6 seconds. A much more competitive race, that one, as Tom couldn't get out front by himself. And George ended up, I think, a lap down there, or 2 laps down. Unfortunately, the writing and the sort of timings we've got here on this little piece of paper from the kart track didn't really explain that too well. But I think George got lapped 2 times in that one, but nonetheless, good stuff. There we are then, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed those races. Let's see how the championship standings is. So here we are. Tom is currently P1 in the championship. He has 32 points thanks to his pole position, 1 race victory and 1 second place. I'm currently in P2 in the championship with my second place, then my first place on 27 points. Then P3, the championship, is currently drawn between my dad and John, who are really competitive this season. They look like they're going to have a chance for many race victories this year. It's going to be a great year, and both of those two are tied on 18 points. Then in 5th position in the championship, we have George on 14 points. He finished P5 in both races, I think getting lapped in both, but he shouldn't beat him up about it whatsoever. I mean, it's only his second time go-karting here, and it's a tricky track to learn, especially when all the rest of us have been there so many times. It was always going to be a bit of an uphill challenge for George to get anything above top 5 or P5 in both races in this one, but that is the way it goes then, guys. So it was a really exciting start to the season here at Filching Manor. Round 2 is going to be coming from the Lid Kart circuit, and that's going to be an exciting one as well, probably the fastest track we go to on the calendar, so that's going to be an interesting one. That's going to be coming up in 2 to 3 weeks time, so look forward to that on this channel. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for watching. Please remember to drop a like on this video if you did enjoy it. I understand it's something slightly different and maybe not everyone will enjoy it as much as the F1 videos and all that, but I'd appreciate if you guys give it a bit of a support, and yeah, hopefully you enjoy the series. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon for round 2, which should be awesome. See you guys. Goodbye.